I'm just finding it so interesting, the stories that I was told about the history of this area, and this whole other layer of things that I've had to discover after I've been living here for 50 plus years. We just have a long and really complicated and not so glorious history if we actually take the time to hear all the stories. The last 15 years I've been doing the Renfrew Ravine Moon Festival, and when I moved into Far East Vancouver near Renfrew Ravine, I was thrilled that Still Creek existed, and almost every other creek in the city has been put into pipes and culverted and become part of the grid system. And as an artist, I was like, is there a way that instead of always preaching to the choir about how we need to change things, we could start celebrating these little remnants of nature that are there and create some beautiful activities, so it's not the same 25 people that always come out, and that you could get a bigger group of community involved. So I started doing the Renfrew Ravine Moon Festival involving the local school kids. So every year we have about 200 volunteers from the high school help put on the festival. And we have like 5,000 people come and take part, and they make lanterns. And at the festival, people can write their prayers for the water and hang them on the cedar boughs next to the stream. And we'd been doing that for about a decade when 5 years ago the salmon actually started returning to the Vancouver portion of Still Creek. When they twinned the Port Mann Bridge and they added all those extra freeway lanes, I was kind of horrified because they were adding way more urban infrastructure. But one of the things they had to do is, because they were going over Still Creek, making a new on-ramp into Burnaby, they were impacting the stream. So as part of the remediation, they had to twin the pipe, because the Still Creek goes through about 600 meters of concrete pipe underneath the freeway and Boundary Road. They had to twin the pipe, and in the second pipe they put baffles so that the fish can rest as they're swimming upstream. So 5 years ago, miracle of miracles, we actually get chum salmon spawning in Vancouver. There have been 300 or 400 chum that have entered the system, like the Still Creek system, from the last email I got from some of the Burnaby people, and a few coho, a couple of dozen coho as well, and coho are much more sensitive to pollution. Chum are more pollution tolerant, are more likely to make it in a city stream that still has a lot of problems. But having coho returning into the system, because these fish, they enter the Fraser River, and then at New Westminster, which used to be a huge, horrible industrial wasteland, but has been cleaned up somewhat, but they enter the Brunette River. So then they swim up the Brunette River into Burnaby Lake, and then out of Burnaby Lake through the Still Creek corridor in behind the Costco in Burnaby. And then when they actually make it to Vancouver, they spawn in behind the Canadian Tire. And that's the kind of urban environmental infrastructure we provide for our salmon. As an artist, I'm hoping we can maybe change that a little bit and maybe make it more of a sacred place instead of the back of the parking lots of all these light industrial areas where who knows what gets tossed over the edge of the creek, but some of it's not very good. It takes not very long to ruin a creek, and it takes decades and decades to clean it up. And so the success we're having now is like 35, 40 years in the making. You need to have longevity, and you have to build in legacy planning for the next generation of people to change things.